Hi crafters, welcome back to another segment of KISS, Keep It Simple Sylvia. For the month of November, we're working on holiday decorations, and last week I showed you a cute little wreath that you could make out of manila tags. And this week I'm going to show you a cute wreath that you can make out of pages from an old book. I started making these wreaths back when I was a young kid, many moons ago, using Reader Digest. That was my book of choice. My mom showed me how to make these. They're just so simple to do, and I love doing them. Just about any size book will work. Reader's Digest, for some reason, I don't know, always seemed to be the book that we always chose. But anyways, what I'm doing is I am just ripping pages out of the book, and then I'm just folding them over into a cone. And the simplest thing that I know how to do to tell you how to make a cone and make it sure that it's the right size is just when you rip the page out of the book, this page that was in the book, and it's going to be uneven, it's not going to be a smooth edge like this edge, I just hold it at the edge here, and it kind of has a curl in it anyways because I started ripping it out of the book, and I just kind of just curl it up and just keep curling the cone until this kind of wraps around back on itself. Just see how this is wrapping back on itself, and then all I do is I just staple it down using a regular stapler. And about half an inch to an inch from the bottom, just so you make sure that you have all the pages, because this is a flap, and if you stapled up too high, you might not get the flap depending on how the flap is folded over. So we're just going to make a series of these. Now, if you want, when you're ripping your pages out of the book, and I'll just show you that. I mean, I just have an old book here, and I'm just ripping page by page as I go. And you can see it kind of has a little curl in the page already because of the way I tore the page out. So I just let that be my guide, and I just grab the end, hold this end, grab this end, and just kind of turn it back on itself. And as I'm turning, I'm kind of guiding this bottom one around, and I just bring it around till I have it where it meets in the front. Dead center, off to the side, doesn't really matter, just so long as it's sort of in the front. And each time I coil this, the paper gets positioned in a different place, and that's okay. And then I just staple it. Okay, we'll do another one. Just show you how easy it is. It's just so easy. Just tear your page out of the book. You can see by tearing it, it actually has a natural curve to it. Put your hand on the top edge, put your hand on the bottom edge, and just kind of coil it forward. Let it kind of coil so you make a cone. And as you're doing that, bring the flap around and then staple. I mean, it couldn't be any easier than that, right? It's just so easy to do. Now you're going to have cones, various sizes and shapes because of the way the paper coils and because of the way you coil the paper. Eventually, as you start getting, making a ton of these, they all kind of come out the same. But you can see these two are different. You can see one's a little bigger than the other, and that's okay. I think that's what kind of adds to the beauty of these wreaths is that they are irregular. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to just keep making up a whole bunch of these. And you can see I've already got some already made up. And like I said, I like having the book in front of me and tearing it as I go because of the natural curve that the page makes when you do this. Okay, so then I'm just going to coil it. And you see this one's a little bit different because of the way I held it when I coiled it, and that's okay. And then just staple it. Okay, so I think I've got enough to get started. And what we're going to do is we need a piece of cardboard to apply these to. Now, last week I showed you how we took the cardboard and we drew circles on it, and then we cut the circles out so we could staple in. And you can do exactly the same thing with this one. Get yourself a piece of string like we did last week, put a loop in it, Or you know what, if you got a big old plate, you could use that as a guide to, make a circle on the piece of cardboard. Okay, and here's my pencil. It's going to make a loop in it like I did last week. Try to find the center of this, which is right about here, I guess. Okay, and you see how I do that circle. All right, and then I'm going to make another one because we're going to make this about 3 layers deep. And all this is just to be a guide. Now, like I said, I could cut this out just like what we did last week and staple them like we did, or I'm just going to hot glue these this time. And I'm just showing you there's different ways that you can attach these things. Okay, so let me get my hot glue gun out. Hot glue gun is ready, and we're just going to start gluing them on. We're going to use this first circle as a guide to start putting these down. And like last week, we want to do it at the 12, 6, 3, and 9 positions, just like how we did last week. Say that that's at the 12. And guess what this is, people? This is an old pizza box. It's a pizza box. It didn't get too messed up in the delivery, and so I used it. I love recycling things like that. Plus, the pizza boxes are really nice and strong. So we got one at the 12, and I'm going to put one down here at the 6. And when you put these on, you want to have your little cone where the tip of this part of the cone is as center as it can be. Now, not all cones are going to be like that just because of the way we folded them. But that's okay. And you see, I just put a strip down there, and then I'm just laying this down. Going to try and get it as centered as possible with the shape. And not all the cones are that way, but that's okay. Okay, and turn it around and do it again up here. By doing it with the 12, 3, 6, and 9, it allows us to do for some good even spacing. And the best way to keep the even spacing is, like last week when we did the tags, we were able to put a tag in the center, and because of the size of the circle that we were working with, we put one on one side and one on the other side. But that's not going to work with this, okay? We put this in the center here, and we've got a lot of space. So what I end up doing is I keep centering. So I'm going to put a cone in between here, centered as best I can. And remember, this is just guesstimating. That's all you do with this. I mean, I don't measure anything. So I just keep trying to center everything. So I'll do another one, and I'm going to center between these two. And you see how I'm using the circle as a guide? Gluing between these two spaces here. Center here. Now, like we did last week, if you wanted to, you could definitely cut these apart. And you could, like some people don't even like using hot glue. So if that's the case, then I would suggest that you do cut them apart and then just use a staple to attach all these. And you see how by centering it, I'm kind of getting these evenly spaced. Because of the size of the cones also, not every cone is the same width. Sometimes it's going to actually fill in nicely like it did here. You see how this filled in nicely? But over here you see we've got some gaps. Well, that's okay. All we need to do is just keep adding our layers. Now I like to make it nice and full, so any place that I've got gaps, I'm going to add more cones. You just continue this way. You see how I put the glue in the center and then between these two? Because I want to make sure that this is attached. And it's up to you on the look that you want for your wreath too. If you like the spaces between them, that's okay. You can space it any way you want to space it. Okay, so you can see how this is going. See how nice and full this is looking? Isn't that pretty? So I'm going to continue with the wreath, and I'll speed this up so you don't have to watch in real time because it gets pretty darn boring. Okay, I did speed this up, and you can just see how I'm spacing everything using that equal distribution and getting this all spaced out. I've got the first layer all glued down, and this is so big I can't even get it all in my camera here. And you can see it's pretty much evenly spaced all the way around. And now we're going to begin with the second layer. And you just do exactly the same thing. You get your cones. And now we're going to start at the 12. And we're going to go to the second circle that we made. And kind of stagger them, okay? You don't want them laying right on top of each other if you can help it. Okay, and then I'm going to put one down here at this. We'll do it at the 3. Okay, we'll stagger it here. Now this layer isn't going to take as much because obviously the circle isn't as big. Okay, then here's the 6. And once again, I'm just guesstimating on this. All depends on how all of your things line up. That down there. And then we'll do the 9, which will be, I'll put it right about in here. Not exactly the 9, but there's a gap there, so I'm going to use that as my guide. See this gap right here? So I'm going to let that be my 9. Put that down. And then once again, I'm going to do that like equal spacing in between that we've done prior. And this just keeps it nice and full, and it spreads it out as equally as possible. So I've got the 9 and the 12, and I'm going to put another one over here for the equal distance between the two. I'm going to layer this one up on it. And this is how I'm going to continue finishing this part of the wreath. Just do exactly the same thing that we did on the first layer. Is just keep staggering the cones evenly in between. Like I'll come back here and I'll put another one in between these two because it's equal distance between the two. Building up this other layer. And then I'll put cones in between here. And don't forget when you lay these down, just make sure that the pointy thing is towards the outside, the pointy part of your cone. Okay, so you see how this is going? So this is how we're going to continue to build this layer then too. Be a nice full wreath. Now, if you don't like your wreath real full, you don't have to fill in all the gaps like I did. I like real full wreaths, particularly when I'm doing this. Okay, so you see how I did this? We did the 12, 3, 6, 9, and then I filled in between them. So I'm going to continue to do that for this second layer, and I'll be back when that's done. Okay, crafters, I've got that second layer done. And generally on that second layer, if you hold your wreath up and you take a look at it, you can see where you might have some gaps, and then you can fill in those spaces. So for this last layer now, what we're going to do is I put a circle in the center because this is going to be our guide point where these little points of our cones are going to touch. So once again, I'm going to do the 12, 3, 6, 9. So I'm going to put a 12 here. And I want that little point to kind of line up at that center spot. Do another 3 over here. Lining up on that little center spot. And then a 6 here. And when you put these down, remember to kind of stagger them a little bit like you did originally. And then here's the 9 spot. Put it over right here. And stagger that onto that one. Okay, so then all we need to do is just get our cones and fill in these gaps then. And I'll start between the 12 and the 9. I'll lay one down. I think the book text is very pretty. You can always spray paint these or spray ink them, but I just think there's something magical about the book text during the holidays. I just think it looks so pretty. And if you're fortunate to have a hymnal, an old hymnal that you want to rip up or you feel that it's okay to part with, that would make a beautiful wreath. And then you could, when you're decorating it, you could put some horns on it. You know, it would, oh my gosh, that would be stunning if you had that. I'm going to go in between these two here. This is such an easy wreath to make, and it's so pretty. And I'll go in between these two here. If you give yourself the 12, the 6, the 3, and the 9, and then it's easy to see the gaps that you need to fill in. What a cute project. Okay, and so now I'm going to fill in between here. You can see that I've got it all done. And it's just so big. I'm sorry I can't get it all in here to show you, but I filled in the gaps, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to decorate the center, and then I'll take some pictures of it, and I'll put the pictures at the end of the video so you can see how big this really is. So I'll be right back. I'm back, and I've got it decorated in the center, but it's just so big I can't get it on my camera to show you. I'm going to take some pictures of it. I'm actually going to hang it up on my door. It's about a 25, 27-inch wreath. And I'm going to hang it up, and then I'll take some pictures and I'll post it so you can see what this little gem looks like. Okay? And oh, and just one other thing that I wanted to tell you how you could hang it. Remember in the last segment I wired? But what you can do is you can get a clip like this kind of a clip. They come in all sizes, and you clip this onto the back where the box is. Just clip it on there, and now you got a place to hang it, because whatever hook or nail you use will go through these little holes on this thing, and then that way you've got a way to hang it up. It's so easy to do. Okay, I'll go take some pictures and I'll put them in the film strip. I just want to tell you thank you so much, crafters, for joining me today, and where we made another cute little wreath out of book paper. And I hope that you join me again next week where we continue with our holiday decorations. We're going to be using book again. So I'll see you again next week. Bye for now, crafters. Thank you.